So, Christopher, you want to talk about the dimensions today?
Yes, I would like to talk about the dimensions, and I was thinking we should probably start with the worst, so everything's uphill from there.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So we'll start with the hell dimensions. First, in the idea of the dimensions, they are not places that were created to reward or punish the beings that are there. The dimensions are spaces of mind. They're spaces of consciousness. So they are not a place that something is sending you to. They're places that we create and crystallize ourselves into. So these spaces of mind, they're basically crystallized emotion. So like an emotional state made solid into a three-dimensional reality, and then the activity played out, the action reaction between us and our projected reality. Now this is happening moment to moment, except that because we're not in a hell dimension, we're in the human dimension. Where we experience hell is when we get swept into anger. Someone who has a quick temper or gets enraged, they brush hell. I'm going to tell you a very wonderful samurai story. This samurai goes to the Zen master and he goes, There is no heaven or hell. Everything is in the mind. The mind creates all realities, and there is no higher or lower worlds. And the Zen master says, who are you? Look at you. You think you're a samurai? That your robe is shoddy. If I was your master, I would be ashamed. I would never, ever recognize you as a samurai. I can't believe that you actually walk around carrying that sword. I bet it's dull. I bet it can't even do anything. The samurai's getting more and more mad, getting enraged, and he reaches down and grabs his handle of his sword, and the Zen master goes, there's the gate to hell. And the samurai suddenly realizes that he was one step away from just killing this guy out of pure rage, and that the guy wasn't meaning what he was saying, and the samurai just stops and he goes like this, and the Zen master goes, there's the gate to heaven. So this story illustrates how the gates to heaven and hell are within us and our feelings. One action can take us down a road that can change our whole world. And hell is a perfect example. The anger that someone can be led into in that moment, if they died with that anger in their heart, the reality they would crystallize is a world that was reflecting that hatred back, because that's basically all these dimensions are, is a reflected state of feeling. So what you put into it is what you get out of it. And people who die in extreme rage are, unless they've clarified that rage or developed a little bit of space, they're going to carry it. Now, each one of the emotions has a quality, like a texture. And the texture of rage is claustrophobia and heat and cold. There's a hot rage. There's a cold rage, but all rage is very claustrophobic. That claustrophobia is what makes us act out and lash out at the reality. We feel it's coming in on us. So there are equal hot hells and cold hells. And that reflects the Western idea of hells too. The difference is that you're not in a hell dimension for eternity. These states, but you are in it for what we would call thousands of years. It's the same state over and over. And the other dynamic of hell is there are two different groups of beings that are working out their karma in a hell dimension. One are the beings that are the victims, the ones who are being punished. The other ones are the demons and devils who are the bosses of that hell dimension, and they're working out a completely different karma. They're having very good karma. They're enjoying what they're doing. They're in hog heaven. So one person's heaven, one person's good place is another person's bad place. Hell to the devils is heaven. So it's very important to understand that these dimensional spaces are very fluid. It depends on what part of the dimension you're experiencing it from. And that's part of the way that these dimensions can propagate themselves. As you wind up being in a hell dimension for, let's just say, 1,000 years, being persecuted. And at some point that's going to invert. Now you're the persecutor. Now you're the devil. You've become promoted in the hell dimension. Now that can invert again, or you could rise in the hell dimension, but that's how you could stay in that dimension for what we would call thousands or even millions of years, because you are the dimensions propagate themselves. So this dimensional space, once you're in it, it's very hard to see out of it. Karma, which is an inertial pattern, it takes that pattern burning itself out before a gap will arise. Because in the hell dimension, you die and are reborn instantly. It's not like you die constantly and you'll keep getting reborn until your inertia changes. And in the Buddhist mythology, they say, or there are bodhisattvas who go into those lower dimensions and act as doorways and ropes and ladders to pull beings out, so that at a point where you could propagate the hell realm karma, but you have a gap and you can suddenly see a wider reality, you could glimpse one of these bodhisattvas and they could pull you out. Now, I'm not saying I believe that, but I do think it's entirely possible. When I was a Buddhist, I believed it. I don't need to believe it right now. And any of the teachings that I say around the Bardo really doesn't have anything to do with belief. It has to do with my experience and then different ideas that people have had around that experience. I have very concrete experiences of hell dimensions in my life. So I have a lot of conviction that there are spaces of hell outside of our body because I've touched them in my mind. And before the Dharma came into my life, I had a lot of hell realm karma, and I had to reconcile that. The Dharma is what helped me reconcile it. But before that, I had to find an orientation point. And so for me, there's not much. As much as I doubt everything, there's a lot of evidence to indicate there is a dimensional space where you can get stuck in a feeling of just pure rage. Also deep depression and self-hatred. Rage does not always go onto an object. Sometimes the object is the subject, and it's self-rage, self-loathing, which winds people to kill themselves. That often will wind up into a hell realm, a cold hell realm, or a ghost realm, which is the field, the vibrational dimension that is exactly next to the hell dimension is the ghost dimensions. And the dimensional spaces are not black and white. There are places where a third color is made from the mixing of these two, where even the grays become more gray. There's places where the ghosts and the hell realm combine, and you can see that in the frequency dynamics of it. The ghosts have a very hellish element to their equation, and so the two fields that exist next to the hell realm are the ghosts and the animals, which we'll talk about the next. So cool.
Well, cool. Thank you, Robert.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like us and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified for when we post new videos. We really would encourage you to ask any questions that you have. We would love to answer them and address them in any way possible. And we will talk to you soon. And remember, stay focused on the question.